everyone, and welcome to today's live stream. I forgot what I was going to say, but today I'm going to be working on, firstly, the new streaming schedule in which the second half is shorter. Kind of decided last week I was going to do that because I was starting to have some trouble keeping up my energy level for 2 hours straight. So I'm doing shorter streams now, but same format other than the second half being shorter. So in the first half today, I'm going to be working on this, which is a sketch, soon to be a painting, that'll actually be part of an animation on this channel. And so basically, I've noted here a few things in the sketch that I think I need to improve, like his muzzle being wrong in perspective. I just need to redo his muzzle. His hand is also completely wrong anatomically. His foot pads maybe need some adjustment, need to draw them a little better in perspective and do some other fixes. And then when I go to paint and shade his tail, I want to get the black tip of it more in line with the way I've done the line art. And the reason I've phrased it that way is because I actually earlier already did a full painting of the tail. But since this animation is going to be made in Blender with some special shader stuff that I've already set up, I'm going to completely redo the painting on this anyway, to align with the special effect that I plan to do. And I'll go more into that as I work on this in the stream. But anyway, as you can see, the black tip in my old painting doesn't really line up with the line art. I kind of want it to be more spiky like the line art is. So I'm going to be working on all that today. Oops, made a mark, made 2 marks. Come on, why isn't Control Z working? I got a new keyboard, or, well, it's an old keyboard, but it works better than the spacebar on my old keyboard, the one I was using. So I swapped it out for this one, which is also an old keyboard, but it works. So the downside is it's a mechanical keyboard that's significantly louder than the other mechanical keyboard was. But it'll work. I mean, the keys are so loud they'll probably open Blue's mouth in my PNG tuber, but oh well. I plan to get a new microphone shipped in actually today anyway, so next live stream I'll have better audio anyway. But, I should probably put some foam pads and stuff on the walls too, that would help. But anyway, enough rambling, enough talking. It's time for me to actually start doing art instead of just talking. So, just gotta make sure my brush settings are the way I prefer them to be, and we'll get started here. So first things first, I'm gonna get rid of his entire muzzle here, because it was just honestly wrong. Just completely wrong. Oh, also, I would like to change my eraser to be this completely hard round one instead of the mostly hard round one that it is by default. So I would first like to establish the 3D basic form here of his muzzle. That looks maybe a little too short. Let me go a little bit longer. I want to make sure it is in perspective though. Maybe a little bit bigger, but then that looks a little short. Kind of more like this. Although that doesn't really look much better than... The problem is, like, I'm trying to draw kind of a cone shape, like a solo cup shape for his muzzle, but I always end up just doing a cylinder. and it doesn't look as good. So I guess I'll go off of instinct instead of drawing a full 3D form, and just go off of kind of the general just the general feeling of where it should be in 3D space and stuff. That's usually what I go off of anyway. Yeah, this is a much shorter muzzle, but it looks like a better shape than it was before, at least. So now I just need to select this and lengthen the muzzle somewhat. Kind of make it a little bit bigger since it's in perspective, a little bit longer. And connect up these lines again. Maybe make his nose a little bit smaller. Or about the same size, but just drawn slightly differently, I guess. Now, just do that. Get rid of that. And I think that looks better than it did before, even though I cannot tell why. I think it just definitely does somehow. So last week I worked on this, and this is what I'm going to be working on in the second half of this stream, but I did amazingly on the style, the anatomy, everything. It was definitely some kind of fluke because I have no idea how I did it, but this is ideally what I want my art style to look like. Like, this is the absolute ideal, so I would like the muzzle of Blue to look like the muzzle of Shadow Fox here, if at all possible. I am noticing the nose is completely different on Shadow Fox, so I would like to try to remember what I did to make Shadow Fox's nose look so good. Probably was more of a perspective thing here, and definitely has to do with some of the details that I added as well on Shadow Fox's nose. Let's see. Let me mirror this. Definitely more of a solo cup shape. I don't know how to really explain that, but my muzzle here is definitely not the same as here. Part of the problem is how thick the lines are. That's mentally throwing me off, so I'm gonna redo this again with maybe a smaller brush. Oop, wrong setting here. There we go. Kind of shape more like that. Nope, that looks like crap. What did I do here? I don't know. I mean, this looks phenomenal, but somehow I can't replicate it. I mean, this looks fine, but it doesn't look good, is the problem. Like, it looks... Maybe it's the line weight that's messing me up here, but... Put the nose there. It takes a lot of concentration to do this stuff, but... Nah, that looks too small. I think part of it is the character's design already has guidelines and stuff that were helpful to me in drawing him. So I'm gonna pretend for a moment that this is Shadow Fox and not Blue, and hopefully I can kind of subconsciously trick myself into drawing this correctly based on that fact. Art is often a mind game with yourself. Gotta know what your psychological tendencies are, what causes you to think certain incorrect ways about your own art process, and sometimes just trick yourself. To see, this looks better, and it's because I tricked myself into drawing Shadow Fox's muzzle instead of Blue's. And if I just correct the character details back to Blue's design instead of Shadow Fox's, would you look at that? His muzzle looks good. Kind of. I mean, now I look at it, it actually still doesn't look that great. It's the nose, I think. The nose is the wrong perspective. It needs to be down here somewhere. But, I mean, at the very least, it was worth the try. Something perspective-wise just still looks wrong here. I'm really struggling with this. I mean, no matter what I do, it feels like it's wrong. Way too small. Just gonna go back to this version, since this version at least looked okay, even though it doesn't look the way I want. Let me correct the nose a little bit, because that's the one part that I can't let be. Nose looks wrong somehow. I guess I'll come back to that. I'll just move on to the hand. Hand needs to be completely redone, because there's a lot of perspective and anatomical issues there. I meant to take a picture of my own hand for reference and use it, but I kind of forgot, so I'm just gonna hold my hand in front of my face and kind of try to recreate what I'm seeing. And also adjust some things here and there for kind of the character design and art style or whatever. Kind of, that finger actually crosses slightly over this one in perspective, so it is very slightly longer. Kind of there, and then this one is very slightly shorter. Kind of crosses over in front there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the thumb is like down here. And, well, that didn't work at all. This looks horrible. Probably should have taken a picture, because I cannot translate from from something I see in 3D in person to 2D. So that's just not a skill I possess, unfortunately. I can't do it. I can't do the flattening thing, even if I just close one eye. Like, it just doesn't work. So I'm gonna actually undo all this because it looks even worse than what I had before. And I'm just gonna actually just correct, or try to correct, the issues I saw with this one. As you can see, I do have a few reference images. This one, full disclosure, is AI generated, and you can tell because he has 6 fingers on this hand and one of the fingers is growing out of the side of his thumb. He has a weird shadow on the back of his neck here. The hand is just, all the fingers are the same length here. There's a load of artifacts everywhere. The fur is kind of weird here. Yada yada. It's ChatGPT, so it's gonna look like crap. But I generated this image as a lighting reference for the 3D when I go to shade it mainly. So figured I would just disclaim that before anyone points it out and gets mad at me. I also have the falling mist guy just for good measure since he's in the same pose. And some normal maps that I can sample from when I go to actually paint the normal map, because part of how I'm going to integrate it into my 3D Blender animation is with a special shader that I've designed that basically takes the normal map information and interpolates between a dark version and a light version of the painting to give kind of a realistic lighting result while also giving me control of the lighting. But anyway, all of that was kind of a side tangent to basically say I don't have a good reference for his hand. So I just need to kind of try to figure out some stuff, because my anatomical issues with this hand were mostly just the fact that I drew all the fingers more or less the same length, and that was kind of causing problems. So I don't know how to do the fingers in a way that looks good, though, is the thing. But I mean, I think this is passable. It's better than what I had before, at least, but still doesn't look very good. Especially since the pointer finger is bigger than the thumb here. Pointer finger should be thinner. Nope, I said thinner, you idiot. Yeah, that'll have to do, since I can't seem to get it to work any other way. Part of the problem with these weekly live streams is, even though they usually get me in the right mindset to do art just on account of the fact that I have a live audience, it doesn't always work. Sometimes I'm just in the same headspace or whatever where I can't figure out anything worth a dang. Happens to be the case today, unfortunately. I'm just in a headspace where I have a really hard time figuring things out. So it's a good thing I've switched to a live streaming schedule that's a little bit shorter, because I don't think I could push myself further today. Today's not one of my best art days, admittedly, but I'm doing my best. I guess that's what matters, or what people keep saying matters at the very least. But don't really feel like I'm doing my best, because I've done better. I'm doing the best I can right now, but it's significantly worse than my best, because my best is when I was working on this last week, and this looks phenomenal. Like I said, literally this is the ideal of what I want my style to look like as an artist. Even my PNG tuber falls really, really far short of this style, but this is what I want my art to look like. Yet I'm not succeeding here at all. This just doesn't look like that. I don't know what I did last week. I don't know what mentally allowed me to do that last week, but I'll figure it out eventually, I hope. I have to. If I'm gonna be an artist, I have to figure that out. Anyway, before I get too overly frustrated on this failed attempt at a hand, I'll move on to the foot pad here. I think the main thing I noticed that was wrong was just the absence of this that I just added. Plus this needs to be a little bit shorter because of the foreshortening in perspective. It also needs to extend out to the edge of the foot here because of perspective. So I think everything else is okay. Oh, actually on this hand, another thing I noticed is that the pads aren't in perspective, so I need to kind of pay more attention to the perspective, the way I draw those. Kind of pull this out just a little bit. This like that. I just got a Discord message. I don't know if that's you, Swift Blue Fox. If it is, like, I can't check the Discord message because I'm streaming, but if it is, I would encourage you to leave the message directly on the live stream chat instead, because I think you're watching right now, if I'm not mistaken. At least the YouTube view count says that somebody's watching, so anyway, to whoever is watching but not chatting, I do want to give you a warm welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. Happy to have you. I'm just struggling to do art today, but I mean, at least I'm trying. Cultural platitudes are annoying. At least I'm trying, at least I'm doing my best, hurdy-dur, but I'm not doing my best. I'm doing the best I can right now, but it isn't my best overall. I'm kind of in a bad mood because I'm frustrated with my art, and I'm rapidly getting frustrated, but I have a whole stream ahead of me, so gonna keep trying my best, I guess, even though I'm not doing my best. Let's see, how did the fur work on the side of his head? It was more like, yeah, something more like that. Just being overly persnickety here with the details, even though I really don't need to be yet. After all, these lines aren't even going to be in the finished version. I'm going to be doing a full painting and rendering of this whole thing, so alright, I tried to fix the muzzle, tried to fix the hand, tried to fix the foot, and I haven't moved on to the tail yet. I think sketch-wise this is as good as I can make it for now. So I can turn off my fixed notes and actually start to render the tail, I guess, even though I don't think I'm ready for that. So the way my Blender shader thing works is I actually draw or render two complete different paintings of the 2D character, and one version of the painting actually is in shadow, and the other version is fully in light. And the idea is generally just that Blender uses realistic lighting data to kind of switch between them depending on how bright or dark certain areas are, and so I want to do a full, two full paintings for every part of Blue's body here. One completely in shadow and the other completely in light. And kind of, well, not completely in shadow, completely in light. Rather, I want to do the shadowed version, render it in basically the same manner as if basically it was in a completely dark room with only a very small amount of ambient light in it. So I'll have to render it very dark, but with just a tiny bit of ambience to it. And so I think I'm already doing fairly well with that here. The problem is I kind of forgot what my art tutor taught me that resulted in this amazing render here. But I'll still try it, even though I can't remember it. I do remember it had to do kind of layered details like this, I think, with a soft round brush, kind of there's different areas of light and shadow. So I'm kind of doing the shadowed version for the render first, with just a tiny bit of ambient light, kind of making this middle area lighter. Although, actually, do I want to have the middle lighter or the edges lighter? Because I think in a dark room with only a little bit of ambience, it would actually be the center. The center would be dark, like this, and then the edges would be much darker, or lighter, I mean. So let me just redo this whole thing now that I have my color swatches in order. It would be completely dark like this, and then the edges would be lighter. Yeah, like that. And maybe just a tiny touch lighter even than that. And actually, I think the edges of the fur would be the lightest, even in the dark version, because they're thinner, and so light kind of passes through them and stuff. So let me turn off the tail line art just so I can kind of try to do that a little bit, because the edges of the fur are basically translucent, so they're gonna let light shine through them a lot more, like that. And then let me just take care of this, soften this up a bit, and then darken this center a lot more. do fur details like this. And of course, I'm already kind of forgetting one of the important things, which is the tip of his tail is actually black. So I need to do a separate layer for his black tail. Since it's in shadow, it's going to be a lot easier to just make it completely black, probably, but let's see, turn the line art back on. Just erase that. Kind of do that. Erase that into the right shape, more or less, and then do this. Just push and pull. Do this. A little bit of this. A little bit of softening. And a little bit of this blur brush. Oh. Hello, Swift Blue. I just noticed your chat messages. Welcome to the stream, even though you also said BRB, so I assume you're AFK at the moment. But welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. So, anyway, what was I doing with the fur here? Oh, yes, I was doing this. Oops. Not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this more and then soften that up a bit. I think that looks okay. No, it doesn't. It doesn't look okay at all. What am I saying? It looks horrible. But I'm trying to make it look good. How did I do this? It's just soft strokes and then smaller hard strokes. So maybe that's what I need, is like a bunch of smaller details too. Smaller, like light details. It's not a silhouette problem because I'm using actually the exact same silhouette as my initial render, but yeah, I can't take this tail tip seriously. Complete failure. Let me just erase that and rely on the good old smudgy brush to do this, even though it's like a sucky method that I don't want to do anymore. Just temporarily, because I'm gonna get rid of this. This doesn't look good, so I hate forgetting how to do things. Because that's a big part of the issue here, is I legitimately just forgot how to do some of this, even though I did it just recently. Let's make this even darker, even more saturated. Just very light strokes. I think that looks good from a distance, actually. I think I'll leave it like that for this dark version, and then when I do the bright version, that's when I'll pay more attention to the details. But in shadow, things don't usually have that much detail in shadow, so I don't actually have to worry about that terribly much. Gosh, this chair. I need to oil this chair. I need to figure out what part of it keeps squeaking and pour an entire can of WD-40 on it. Welcome back, Swift Blue. Welcome back. So, anyway, so now what? Now what do I want to work on? Now I guess I'll just create the base layer for his leg or something. Make sure that I create it on the same basis as this, same base color, and try to remember. Like really try to remember what my art tutor taught me for how to do this stuff. I know it was something like this, maybe, like literally drawing the edges of the fur like this, and then I filled it in with a soft round brush somehow. Don't remember details that well though. No, that's a little. Why is my eraser this brush? Let me fix that. There we go. Kind of just little bits of his fur there. And then just outline his foot here. Basically like line art, but does that look good? Yes. Looks fine. So we'll just do that, and I'll close leg up there, then with a soft round brush. The idea is to just lightly kind of do this. From what I remember, that was what my art tutor taught me, and then I can switch to an eraser when I need to sort of. Actually, I do remember one other thing that my art tutor taught me. Let me get the brush tip of this one completely different. And actually, I think opacity was part of that. So let me change that brush setting to this. All right. Then I can do this. A little bit of this. Just erase out some of the fur details here. back in. Sometimes I don't really know what to talk about. I'm just focused so much on this. Gonna check my Discord message real quick. Never mind. Was going to, but I don't know if streamer mode is activated on Discord, even though it normally does it automatically. I think I may have manually turned it off by accident, so you know, that texture actually looks like it would work really well here. Yeah, like that. Just like that. And then I'll just come in, fill this in a little more hard. I don't know if that's being picked up on the microphone. There's a neighbor of mine speaking really loud. Yeah, was worried about that. That's why I want to get a better microphone, because this microphone picks up all the wrong things. Well, yeah, you can't make out what they're saying because it's Spanish. The neighbor is speaking Spanish, so... But yeah, I got what you meant. Just thought it was kind of funny. You need a cardioid mic or a super cardioid or cardiod. I've never heard of those. I already ordered my new microphone and it's going to be here today. It's definitely not one of those, because I've never heard of those before, but... Probably do some fur detail here. Just little details. And I'm gonna erase this. This looks terrible. Replace it with this. Now that I've figured out a better technique here. That, replace it with better technique here. I don't know if his leg being extra fluffy actually looks good though. I mean, the rendering looks fine, it looks fluffy, but I don't know if I actually want that on his leg, but guess I'll find out. Let's take my hard round, fully opaque brush now and just fill in a lot of this. Because what I'm building here is just a layer to render on top of as a clipping mask, basically. Let's see. It's not a brand, but a design to pick up things in front of the mic, but not behind the mic or besides it so much. Okay. Yeah, I've heard those referred to as shotgun mics. And yes, I have heard that's really good for voice work and stuff, but I wanted to get a microphone that could be just a general purpose mic that I could take with me. Basically, I got a microphone that's the same as the one I have, except with a much better preamp on it. So, because the main problem with this microphone is the preamp. It's really, really noisy. Like, the noise floor is basically a ceiling. That's how high it is. So, I mean, the noise floor is like the 100th floor of the building. That's how bad it is on this mic. So, it's kind of, the Zoom H1N is kind of a crappy microphone, even though I have hung on to it this long for sentimental reasons mostly. I kind of decided to upgrade to something else. I don't remember exactly what I got, but it's a Tascam something or other, and so it'll be kind of the same type of microphone, but generally just a little more professional grade. So I think this looks okay. I would prefer to get rid of a lot of this extra fluff though, just because it's his leg. I'll start to show it more around his knee and stuff. I'll definitely keep this lower half, but I don't want it to be extra fluffy anywhere else. I kind of overdid that a little bit. I was carried away trying to remember the technique my art tutor showed me. Didn't ultimately remember it anyway, but I found something that seems just as good-ish. But anyway, now that I have this basic layer, I'll turn it into a clipping group now and try to generally kind of match what I did here on the tail. Let me just do this, darken everything up to like this color, and then on the edges, that's where everything gets somewhat light. Let's kind of actually do kind of more this color, or this kind of brush stroke. Kind of wanted to physically make sense, but wanted to still look good. It's surprising how sometimes things that physically look good, like things that aesthetically look good, don't make any physical sense in art, and likewise things that make physical sense sometimes don't look good. So it's always a little bit of a balance between those two very different things. Gotta make this a little bit Just a little bit lighter on the edges of the fur, mostly. I don't think the non-fluffy parts actually need that bright of a highlight, so I'll darken that a little bit. So darken it a little bit, not lighten it. Come on. There we go. It's a little better. This chair, my goodness. Okay. It's very subtle, but it's definitely working. I actually shouldn't have added that highlight because that's where his shorts are, and I should actually really darken that area because of his short, like his shorts are covering that, so that's going to be really in shadow regardless. Actually, I'll darken this too accordingly, but then lighten kind of the edges of the fur, give him that more saturated color that his tail has, because right now I'm noticing that his leg is not as saturated as his tail for some reason. The way that I did it just doesn't share that same saturation. Let me undo some stuff here because I'm not sure. Okay, let me redo all that. Need to actually do this and then rotate it this way and kind of do this a little bit bigger. And of course, his foot is also black, so I need to just color that all in, basically completely black. And then just little strokes like that for his fur details. But since it's in shadow, it's not gonna, he's literally a black fur that's in shadow, so it's not going to have really any semblance of lighting to it at all. Maybe a tiny bit of ambient light here, but that's really about it. Kind of color the edges of his toes with that very subtle ambient light, but I'm actually checking both monitors because there's a ton of glare on my main monitor, but not as much on my secondary monitor. This should actually be maybe a little darker instead of that. So more like that. I am noticing there's like a highlight here that I don't know where that's coming from. It's a transparency issue, it appears. So I'll just make that fully opaque. Since these parts of him are going to be fully opaque, not a lot of little fur strands there to be semi-transparent anyway, so there we go. Oops, wrong layer. Need to make sure I didn't mess that layer up. All right, and There we go. That looks good. Actually, I should probably add that highlight kind of all the way around, because part of the way my Blender shader lighter system thing, Blender shader lighting system, however you pronounce that, is it takes care of the lighting direction. So the way to create the underlying dark and light versions of the image is to light it as if it's lit equally from all directions. So despite my better intuition, I actually do need to do what's called pillow shading here somewhat, and just shade things equally from all directions. What layer am I on? Why isn't it working? Why is that 2 layers anyway? Let me make that 1 layer. And then kinda come in like that. And come in like that. Yeah. I feel like there needs to be middle ground here, so just do that, kind of break up the edges a little bit. I think I did it a little too much here. Alright, that doesn't look as smooth as I would like, but let me grab this color and then just very, well, maybe not that color, maybe this one. Just very subtly do this, grab this color, do this real subtly. There we go. See, I'm not being anywhere near as frustrated with the painting and shading as I am with the drawing, because honestly I still feel like the drawing has a lot left to be desired here, but when it comes to doing all the rendering and painting, I'm like a lot more confident in rendering and painting now than I am in drawing for some reason. So maybe I should ask my art tutor to help me focus on that somehow. But then again, she might have a better workflow for me that doesn't even rely on the line art as heavily as my current workflow. Because it's been brought to my attention by my art tutor that my workflow is probably not that good. It's something I kind of came up with over time, but it's not the way she would do it, and it's not the way professional artists do it, probably. So, and let me just hide these layers and then show this so that I can get the color right. And then my next layer group is gonna be his left leg. But actually it's almost time for intermission. It's 12:59, almost 1. I take my intermission at 1. So yep, and there's the alarm. It startled me. So anyway, I've worked on this a little bit today. Fair enough. I'll see you guys in the next half, where I work more on Shadow Fox's rules banner as my second half cooldown exercise. I'll see you in about 12 minutes. Hello everyone, I'm back from intermission, and yeah, alright, so let's work on this. This is shadowfoxganguk's rules banner that I did phenomenally on last time. I didn't draw his hands though, and I'm worried now that the fluke is over that made this look so amazingly that I'm going to mess up his hands, and then I'll try to fix his hands a bunch by erasing things and then redrawing them, and that it'll have a cascading effect that ruins the entire image. So as a countermeasure to prevent that, I'm going to try to draw on a second layer and lock the first layer of what I did last time. I'll actually make the first layer fairly transparent. I'm saving this as the second half of my stream today because as of my new stream schedule, why is both ends of my pen this pen? Hold on. Lost my train of thought. I was going to say, since it's a shorter stream, I figure going forward, I'll save the less important tasks or less frustrating tasks or whatever as like the second half of each stream, because that's when I start to run out of mental energy and stuff anyway. So, let's see, he's gonna have a hammer, like a judge's gavel in this paw, in this hand. So he'd be holding it across his chest like this, and the hammer would angle, no, not outward, it would angle inward as his hand wraps around it. Okay, was just kind of referencing my own hand to kind of try to get this somewhat right. The judge's gavel band hammer is going to be comically large, but only by judge's gavel standards. I don't know how big a judge's gavel is in real life, but it's definitely not this big. Probably. I'm just using the line tool to kind of lazily put this in the perspective that I think it should be. Kinda. And I'll probably work on this image on my free time off of the stream just a little bit. I know I always say that and then never do it, but I do need to actually look up a judge's gavel, like a reference image of a judge's gavel, and try to design this hammer to look like that. But until I do that, I'll just design his hand to wrap around it. Let's see. This is only a 4-finger paw here that I just drew. Maybe I could sneak in another one down there somehow. No. Make this one a little thinner and... No, see, that looks wrong. That looks like an AI artifact, the way I drew it. Let me... There we go. That looks passable, at least. And then I'll just kind of do this and erase all the leftover junk, if at all possible. And then let me go on a new layer and retrace kind of where the hammer handle goes. and then erase that. Actually erase all of that part. Erase there. Oop, that is a visual tangent somewhat. Need to make that finger a bit longer probably, but only just a tiny bit so that there's not that visual tangent where it lines up perfectly with the edge of the gavel, the banhammer gavel thing. Let's see. All right, I think that doesn't look too bad. I could probably merge that with last week's line art without too many problems. So we'll have to erase part of last week's line art, just where the hammer is covering up his chest floof and stuff, but although I don't have the line art for the judge's gavel actually finalized, so I probably shouldn't do any of that yet. Instead, I'll just erase, well, hide that layer, and then draw the character's clothes, which basically just consists of a bandana and the outer jacket of a tuxedo. So, shouldn't be that terribly difficult to draw. I really should look up reference images later for how a bandana actually looks, because I always draw it in a way that I don't think looks that good, honestly, but I mean, yeah, definitely could do with some reference images at some point, but I don't want to Google search in the middle of the stream. That's the only reason I don't look them up right here, right now. Because I know I need reference images, but I don't want to switch over to Firefox and all that, because even though my stream setup technically censors the Firefox window and my personal information in it, it takes like a split second to actually kick the censor in. So until I fix that, I don't want to open Firefox on my live stream. There's bookmarks in my toolbar for like my apartment's rent portal and all that stuff. So I don't really want to show that on stream because it has my address. Not gonna dox myself today, thank you very much. Maybe next Tuesday. Oh well. That's a joke. I'll probably just adjust the shape of this a little bit. Alright, that's his bandana. That looks fine. Now I'll just create his tuxedo jacket on a different layer. Should I have it cover his chest floof or have his chest floof cover it, I wonder? I think it would look best if only the far side was actually covered by his chest fluff. Let's see, actually this should come out a little further. There's a tangent, let me Try to fix that tangent. I think it'll be fine. Kind of goes out like that. That goes out like that. And then most of the jacket is covered by his chest fur. And his arm covers this part, so I'll erase this part too. And can't remember if I had the buttons on the left side or the right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put the buttonholes on the right and the buttons on the left, even though it'll be a logical inconsistency in character design if I get it wrong. I can always correct it later upon request, I suppose. Kind of half button there. I can get away with a button there. Maybe. Nah. And not that one either. And then just draw this here. I think there's a seam like that. Maybe I need to look up tuxedo jackets again and see where the seams are in their construction, but usually there is a seam like right here, I believe. Just because that's where the bottom of the armhole is at. So now I'll make this layer opaque again, and here's an idea. I'll create a transparency mask for the layer instead of destructively erasing parts of it. Men's shirts have buttons on the right side and buttonholes on the left. Okay, so I did it correctly. Huh, I didn't know that there was actually like a difference there. That's actually pretty informative. I'll try to remember that in case I ever do a female character that's wearing a buttoned shirt. I'll try to remember that. Because that's actually, if that's true, that's a detail I want to try to incorporate in future artwork. So, thankfully I did it correctly, it seems, on this one. Just gotta mask away all the things that are overlapping wrongly. Thankfully it is a mask, so it's not a destructive operation that I'm doing here. I'll just mask that away since it kinda looks wrong. There we go. And then mask away his body. I think, yeah, gotta mask it away here too. Cool. And since it's a non-destructive mask, I might as well use it to temporarily mask away the hammer as well, or mask away the parts that the hammer is overlapping with at any rate. Of course, the hammer is still overlapping a lot of the tuxedo jacket, so I'll probably add a transparency mask to the tuxedo jacket and mask away a lot of it as well here. And now Inya is singing in my head. Bum dum dum. Mask away, mask away, mask away, dum dum dum, mask away, mask away, mask away. It's kind of tricky to understand the layers here. Once I have some of the layer, like some of the drawing more finalized, though, I definitely am going to merge all the layers down to just one. It's just, currently, I don't know if this, like, I definitely want the hammer to actually look like a judge's gavel, even though it's a band hammer, because it fits with the whole classy but rebellious thing that I'm going for with this character. It's like, it's a judge's gavel, but it's a band hammer. So, BRB. Alright. See you when you get back. Hopefully soon, because I actually end the stream in like 1 minute. Told you it was a shorter stream. I'll keep going until either you show up so I can say goodbye, or my a friend of mine shows up, because I actually have plans today for him to show up at like 1:40 something. So it's kind of a tight schedule today, but technically the stream is supposed to end in just, it's supposed to end literally now at 1:30. So you know what, I'll just go ahead and end the stream. I'll leave a chat message in Discord for you, SwiftBlue, just to let you know this stream ended. It is like I've said a couple times, I'm changing my streaming schedule so that these streams are a little bit shorter, but welcome back. I was just saying, the stream is actually about to end because it's 1:30 and these streams are shorter now. So you came back just in time for me to go. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. Always glad to have friends around. And I will see you on this live stream next week, everyone. If you enjoy watching the recordings or watching these streams, please do subscribe. I plan to actually post some animations and stuff on this channel too, not just live streams. But anyway, that's for the future. Que sera, sera. The future's not ours to see. All that stuff. Anyway, thank you for watching the stream, and I'll see you around. Bye.